Today is 441st day that I come here to share lessons that I learn and I'm learning. I hope those lessons support your dreams, your goals, allow you to become the person that you want to become. Today we'll speak about sales. Recently, 3 weeks ago, I really went deep down into learning a sales skill. I used to say that I will never work in sales, but I changed my mind, and my mom always used to say that don't spit in your well because you might need to drink from it, and it seems that I will start drinking from this well. And I used to have that misconception what that sales truly means, because I used to think that sales needs to be about influencing, about speaking very well and communicating well and externally pushing a person to buy a product. But I learned in the last couple of weeks that sales is more than that, and it's much more than I could ever imagine. And today we'll speak about 6 things that how you could potentially build rapport with your prospect. So let's get started. So first is show genuine interest in your prospect. That means that you need to be interested in your prospect. You need to ask questions, understand that person. That means you don't need to look interesting. You don't need to show all the examples that you such a good salesperson you are. No, like you need to show genuine interest in your prospect. That's where you will be able to build rapport. Not how well you communicate, but how well you're able to ask questions to understand another person. Number 2, second is find common ground. Find common ground is a lot of different ways. So of course you can find common ground by activities that you do. It could be anything that means something in common. It could be even sports that you did, and of course you don't want to do that find common ground in the beginning of the meeting, because it's just a lot of times people will see that you just want to fakely looking for those finding around. But if opportunities show up, of course you're able to share that those people are in the same position that you were. So it means building some kind of understanding common ground, because sometimes a lot of times is people work with people that they like, and if you're able to find common ground, of course sometimes it's much easier. But that means that you don't need to fake it. If there is common ground, that's good. If there is no common ground, it's good as well, because you're able to build rapport by asking questions. So show genuine interest is much more important than finding common ground, because when you show how interested in that person and you're able to ask proper questions, of course it will build much more rapport than finding common ground that's in places that there is no common ground. Third is mirroring. And that means mirroring means that could be body language, in the way how you communicate, in the pace, in cadence, in tonality. That means if a person wants to be communicated in one way, and if you want to be a leader and really add tremendous value to the prospect, that means you need to adjust it. You not ask prospect to adjust to your way of speaking, but you need to adjust it, because you are a leader. You want to add value to the prospect. You want to add value to the person in front of you. So you need to adjust a little bit your cadence, tonality, and speed and pace to make sure that that person gets the most value. And mirroring is helping for that. Number 4 is show empathy and understanding. That means that, of course, when you listen and try to get even deeper and deeper and deeper into that person's situation, because I find that a lot of times salespeople are not able to really ask deep enough questions to understand the other person's situation. But you ask deep questions, really go deeper into that person's story, and you allow that person to open up. That means that you're able to really understand that person and show empathy, because a lot of times people ask questions just on a surface level, and I used to be that kind of person. I didn't want to touch very sensitive topics of people. I used to think that I'm putting salt on their injury, but I learned that when you really show the empathy, show that you understand and you're able to ask deeper questions, they feel much better then, because now they know that someone understood them well. So that was one of the paradigm shifts that I needed to do, that if you want to build rapport, you need to ask really great questions, deep questions, and go through all the surface levels that you really want to build very strong rapport. Number 5 is use humor appropriately. So that means if there is opportunity to use humor when you speak about some kind of goals or anything that is not very sensitive, of course you're able to use humor, because if a person is very tight and nervous, sometimes using humor could release their tension and really help to smooth up the conversation. And number 6 is be authentic and transparent. Of course, you want to make sure that you show up who you are. You don't want to be trying to say the things that you not are. Like if you are trying to sound as someone else, with being, if you're like a little bit more introverted and you have the specific pace and cadence, don't try to be like very energetic and motivational speaker, because that will sound very inauthentic. So that means you need to find your way of speaking, your dialect, your cadence, your pace that sounds like you, it's perfectly fits you. Because I truly believe that it doesn't matter what pace you have, you of course adjust a little bit to your prospect, but still you need to keep yourself. Now, when I think about the building rapport, what I learned the most is that when you speak about with this person about what situation they're in, that means that current station and the goals that they have, a lot of times people want to put some kind of input. Yes, I know what you're saying, and they start putting inputs and assumptions what other person is feeling or supposed to feel. But if you want to really build a rapport, that means that during discovery, when you're trying to figure out who you talking to, what kind of station they are in, that means that you're not supposed to add any inputs. Exactly the same with goals. When you try to figure out their goals and their desired station and where they want to go, that means you're not supposed to say that if there's a good goal, it's a bad goal, and not supposed to assume anything. And only when you figure out exactly where they are and exactly where they want to go, only then you're able to add input, and that will build a huge rapport. Because if you were able not to say anything during discovery and during looking for those goals, and you finally, after all that information, while you didn't send anything in those two parts, finally when you're able to say something, people will listen, because now they know that you really thought about all the things that the prospect said. But I think that a lot of times salespeople, what they do, they bombard with all information from the start, and when they wanted to really offer a solution in the end, that offer or solution loses power, because they all the time are speaking. So I think that when you really allow yourself to ask questions at the beginning and really build that rapport by really asking great questions, really allows to improve the quality of your input afterwards. I hope you choose win, and see you tomorrow.